Like, if you want to say yes, you can.
Call to order the meeting of the Verona Common Council for Monday, December 13th, 2021 at 7 p.m. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Next, we'll have the roll.
Present.
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 Here. Here. Here.
I am here.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to public comment. One brief new thing for public comment is that speakers are only allowed to speak once. That's a policy change that I'm instituting as chair. There might be some more ones in the future, but that's one new rule. And with that, public comment.
Thank you. I'm Tom Mathias. I live on Nordell Hill Road in the town of Verona. I'm a town supervisor. I'm speaking for myself tonight, not on behalf of any other town supervisors. I'd like to comment on the proposed comprehensive plan amendment that's on tonight's agenda and how this relates to the boundary agreement. And I wrote this down. Under section 12.01 of the boundary agreement, the town and city each agree to share and collaborate with staff from each respective community when amending a comprehensive plan. Involvement may include providing feedback on elements of the comprehensive plan relating to this agreement to ensure city and town plans are consistent with this agreement. So a few days ago, I spoke to our town administrator, Sarah Gaskell, and she told me that the only communications she has received about this comprehensive plan amendment was a notice for the public hearing. So it seems to me that the agreed sharing and collaborating has not yet occurred. I would be glad to learn differently if I'm mistaken on anything. That's all I have. And for social distancing, I'll go home and watch online. Thank you.
We are still in public comment. If any members of the public wish to speak, now would be the time to do so.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Kruger, and I am president of the Fiore Companies. I'm here to speak on behalf of Cascade Development and Fiore as it relates to the West Madison Bible Church mixed-use project. Our development team has a long history of operating in the Dane County area. The Fiore Companies is celebrating 100 years in business this year. Fiore is a diversified investment company with its primary focus on developing, owning, and managing high-quality real estate assets. Fiore has a long-term ownership view evidenced by the fact that some of our current projects are built on properties that we have owned since the 1920s and 30s. Cascade Development, led by Luke Stoffaker, is also a well-established real estate firm, specializing in development, contracting, and management of high-quality assets, with roots dating back over 50 years. Luke is a third-generation real estate developer and owner. Our team is excited about the opportunity to be a part of a development within the city of Verona. The West Madison Bible Church mixed-use development encompasses a site size of 29 acres at the intersections of Highways M and PD. Given the scale of the site, we felt it was important to master plan the development to ensure we deliver a cohesive and first-rate project for the city. The concept plan allows for a combination of complementary uses on the site. The church will remain an integral part of the project. If the development is approved, the church intends to redesign its main building, and add a school and various outdoor facilities in the future. Our plan also includes a commercial component along the Highway M frontage, allowing for approximately 20,000 square feet of high-quality retail space. The multifamily component of the project will include 525 to 550 units across a variety of building types and complementary architectural styles. This is a substantial reduction from the 700 units originally included during the first presentation to the Plan Commission this spring. The site size and topography lend itself well to a development of this scale, with the overall density of the multifamily units comparable to or less than other recent developments within the city of Verona. This project will be phased over the next 7 to 9 years, with the development of the multifamily units averaging 135 units in each phase. Finally, a benefit of master planning a large site is the ability to incorporate a high percentage of green space throughout the project. The green space will be used for walking trails, stormwater management, community gardens, and other unique project amenities. Now, Luke Stoffaker from Cascade Development would like to provide additional commentary on our development. Thank you.
Luke Stoffaker with Cascade Development. Thanks for the time today. Just wanted to follow up on Lindsay's comments. Been working on this project for almost 3 years with city staff. Challenges, had run into a lot of challenges, stormwater, and have worked through those and back up here with a site that has a 25% reduction from our original site plan that we shared with you guys almost probably a year and a half ago. We've been to Plan Commission 2 times since then, and in November, we got some feedback that they would like to see reduced density, diversified housing, reconfigured buildings, and a phasing plan. We came back in December addressing all the issues that Plan Commission pointed out, and we're happy to pass Plan Commission with a unanimous decision. To address the diversified housing, we added a number of townhomes and 3-bedroom units, a 2-story building, and we reconfigured the buildings to pull them away from the other property owners on the boundaries. And we detailed the phasing plan that sends this project out through 2028, 2029, which was always in the plans, but it wasn't written down. Just showing the breadth of the project, the large nature of it. As Lindsay pointed out, having 30 acres in a large plan, it was important for us to put the roads in and handle the stormwater management issue to know that as the site develops, we can move into one phase after another. So we felt like we properly addressed that, and Plan Commission supported that in our next meeting. Another important factor that I wanted to point out, that our goal on this project is to come in with an apartment project or multifamily mixed-use project that was different than the city's seen before. We've got an institutional user, we've got a retail component, and we have, of course, the multifamily units, which have been the focus, but I think it's important to look at this as a mixed-use development with the church and with a large amount of retail. On the residential side, although this is just a comp plan amendment that we're going for, and we would be back in for, I get the acronyms wrong, GIP, SIP, and all that stuff. Our goal is to develop a project that blends well with the current rural residential setting, and we are amenable to architectural styles that fit that, and working with city staff. We've got an amenity-rich project that we'd like to bring to the table, working on a bike sharing station that I'm not sure if I know of anybody else in Dane County that's done a privately owned and paid for bike sharing station that would link up with all the different bike trails that's Verona and Madison have access to from this site. Outdoor fitness center, pickleball court, pools, a number of different other amenities that are shown on the site plan and would be included in this project. So I know you guys have seen a lot of apartments come through over the last couple years, but our goal is to kind of take those projects to another level and master plan a site that was different and was a value add to the city of Verona. Here for questions during your discussion, if you'd like me to call me back up. Thank you.
We are still in public comment. If any other members of the public wish to speak, now would be the time to do so. Going once, going twice. All right. We will move on to item 5, which is approval of the minutes from the November 15th, 2021 Common Council meeting. Questions, comments, or motions? Alderiki?
Move approval?
Motion by Alderiki. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Alder Touche. Last chance for corrections. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the November 15th, 2021 Common Council meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Minutes are approved. Next, we'll move on to item 6, which is mayor's business. I don't have anything. Next, we'll move on to item 7, which is announcements. Any announcements from the council? Seeing no hands, we'll move on to item 8, administrator's report. Mr. Sayer.
Thank you. So before I get into this, just to let everybody know, we continue to have audio issues in here, so if you could try to speak directly into the microphone. The issues will be resolved after this meeting, before the next Plan Commission meeting. So we do have AVI coming in. We've identified the problem, and now we just need to get it fixed. So apologize, everyone. It is going out clearly online on YouTube and Zoom, but it is an issue actually in this room with the speakers, actually right by the TVs out there. So it's going to get fixed, but just a reminder, just speak as much as you can into the microphone. Just a few updates. We don't really have any meetings coming up the rest of the month. We did have a Tourism Commission meeting that's probably going to be canceled. That's next week. We'll have Plan Commission on January 3rd, and then the next Common Council meeting will be on January 10th. So we will plan on canceling that December 27th Common Council meeting unless something drastic comes up, which I don't anticipate. But like I said, we'll plan on canceling that. A few more updates. The library will be returning to their normal hours starting on January 3rd. And by normal, I mean non-pandemic, pre-pandemic hours. So that'll include being open on Sundays again. So those hours are listed in the administrator's report here. Regarding nomination papers, December 1st was the first day candidates could start circulating nomination papers for municipal offices. All candidacy forms are due no later than 5 p.m. on Tuesday, January 4th to the city clerk. If incumbents choose not to run for re-election, the deadline to submit notification of non-candidacy is Friday, December 14th. All required forms for ballot access are located on the city's website, and also contact Holly if you have any questions. Tax bills were mailed out last Thursday. As part of those, the mill rate did drop from $20.5801 to $19.59. That was a reduction of almost $1 per thousand, which is pretty significant. Based on the 2022 mill rate, an average home, which is $348,400 in Verona, will pay approximately $344 less in property taxes. The lottery and first dollar tax credits also increased for 2022, so most people will see a kind of larger reduction because of that, which is approximately $460 for the average home. So those have gone out, and people have already started paying those. There is a detailed update on the refuse and recycling cart delivery and collection. I know I had my new cart delivered to my house today, so those are out and being delivered. Details are also on the website. We've also posted on those on Facebook as well. I would encourage everyone to kind of read those. We've been getting a lot of questions about that. It's pretty self-explanatory if it's read, but if there are questions, I guess contact Public Works, and we're happy to answer any questions from people. The Century School redevelopment, this is the former New Century School site. The developer is in the process of completing the abatement, or actually has completed the abatement on the former Sugar Creek Elementary School property, and demolition is planned to occur actually starting next week at some point. We anticipate possibly some footings and foundations for the workforce housing starting at some point by the end of this year. We continue to work with on the redevelopment of the former New Century School building. That is planned to be preserved and stay as is. If you would like a tour of that, if you haven't seen it, just reach out to me. I'd be happy to give a tour to anybody. I know a few of you have reached out, but if you want to look at it, just contact me. We'll find some time. We have reached out, engaged with contractors and architects to walk through that building. We used a similar process when we acquired the Matt's house in downtown. The intention of having those contractors and architects is to provide us with an estimate to rehab that property and building, to give us a better understanding of what those costs would be to look at that. So they walked through it last week, and I anticipate receiving possibly a draft report by the end of this month or beginning of next year. Once we have that report, we'll come back to the council with a presentation and I guess to get feedback and direction from the council. And then lastly, a developer is planning on relocating and moving the house that's located at 100 South Marietta Street, and that would occur on December 16th, which is this Thursday, at 11:15 p.m. The move will take approximately 3 hours, and it's being moved to 103 Park Lane, which is just kind of southeast of the Sauzier. Weather dependent, that is planned to occur. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Alderiki.
Just wondering if there's a Parks and Rec and Forestry meeting on this Wednesday?
I believe there is, and I missed that one, but yes, I believe there is a Park and Rec meeting.
Okay.
Other questions for Mr. Sayer? I'll just repeat that Pelletary is going to be delivering carts, so you don't need to do anything to receive one, and that Waste Management will begin collecting their old carts on Tuesday, December 28th, which means you should have the carts out curbside on the night of Monday, December 27th, and the collection will take place, or can take place the 28th through the 30th. If the carts have things in them, they will not be collected, so they need to be empty. Not one last chance for garbage. Alder Touche.
I'm just thinking about the coordination here. Fill your waste management carts on what day for pickup, and then leave it empty from that point forward? What is that date?
Mr. Sayer?
Depends on when your garbage is picked up.
Well, it's a Monday or Tuesday.
Monday or Tuesday, so pretty much that last week of December, you're going to, whatever your normal time would be, whether it's both garbage and recycling or one or the other, you'll then leave it out there, and they'll come pick it up.
So I'm hoping they're collecting the recycling on that last one regardless if it's in schedule, because if you are collecting recycling and it's mid-cycle, you're going to have stuff in that recycle bin.
I had the same thought today as I was rolling my new recycling bin to my backyard for storage, and I wondered the same thing, and I think I might be off that schedule. That's what I was going to check, actually,
Yeah,
later this
at
week.
least
but-
let's talk to Waste Management. I personally feel that they need to bring a garbage truck when to come collect these, because you know there's going to be someone who's going to leave trash in these things.
Yeah, I'll have a conversation with Darren about that, just looking at that last collection time and just maybe we make a slight
They should have a
adjustment to
pickup
that.
truck behind the dump truck to collect the empty cart.
Well, and to your point as well, if it's, depending if you're off cycling, especially with the holiday in there, it could be
Yep.
a complete
And I
mess.
promise you, people are not paying attention to anything that's coming in. There are people, myself is guilty sometimes, and I will have garbage in there, and Waste Management will be like, we aren't going to pick it up, which is kind of ridiculous. So considering the contract does run to the end of the year, regardless if it's the pickup day or not. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Sayre? Seeing no further questions, we'll move on to the engineer's report. Ms. Fisher.
Thank you. For the East Side Interceptor, the sanitary interceptor project, that project's complete with some punch list items remaining in the next few weeks and next spring and summer. The Badger Mill Creek restoration is complete as well. The Lincoln Street Stormwater facility is substantially complete. There's a patch to pave on the walking path in the park, some minor restoration work to complete, and landscaping maintenance in the spring. For the design projects, the County Highway M and County Highway PB intersection design project, the plans and project manual are complete and it's currently being advertised for bid. Bid opening will occur on January 20th with construction beginning in spring of '22. For the 18151 auxiliary lane, concept and initial design has begun. Plans are anticipated to be completed in the spring with construction to follow in the summer. For the, there's a new project on the agenda tonight for approval. It's the Wildcat Way water main connection. It's a water main connection project, and construction is anticipated to occur in the summer/fall of '22. For city staff in-house design and major maintenance projects, there's the 2022 Asphalt Street Rehab project. Staff has begun initial concept and design. Currently, the areas being proposed are Military Ridge Drive from Old PB to Glacier Ridge Trail, Todd Street from West Verona Ave to Mark Drive, Harmony Drive, and the multi-use path across or along Cross Country Road from Hemlock Drive to Main Street. There's also the 2022 pavement surface treatment project, and staff has begun plan preparation for that project. Currently, the areas being proposed are Scenic Ridge and Cathedral Point subdivisions. And finally, for the development projects, Woods at Cathedral Point phases 2 and 3. Those phases are complete and building permits are beginning to be issued. The surface lift of the asphalt will be placed in the fall of '22. Morningside Boulevard is substantially complete with punch list, surface pavement, and restoration to be completed in the spring. Costco, site and public improvements, on-site sanitary sewer has been completed. On-site and off-site public water main and on-site storm sewer are currently being installed. And finally, Whispering Coves Phase 1. They are continuing to mass grade. Sanitary sewer has begun, and underground utilities can be expected to be installed throughout the winter if weather permits. So with that, I can take any questions.
Any questions on the engineer's report? Seeing no hands, we will move on to item 10, committee report. First up under 10A, we have Finance Committee.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $1,676,884.83.
Motion by Alder Cronin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Posey. Alder Cronin.
By way of explanation, there's a $155,381 payment to the City of Madison for Metro services, $102,359 payment for new dump truck for Public Works. We have a $180,374,000 payment for easement and connections, $47,497 for portable radios for the fire department. There's a payment of $239,652 for the East Side Interceptor, and another payment of $198,367 for the fourth quarter Metro payment. I do just want to make a note, too, that this amount is a little higher than what we normally see because we've had a couple skipped meetings.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments on the motion to pay the bills? Seeing no further discussion, All those in favor of paying the bills in the amount specified signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And that motion passes. Alder Cronin.
You can correct me if I make this motion incorrectly, but my understanding is that I would like to make a motion at the recommendation of the Finance Committee to deny request for city funding for the ice rink expansion.
Mr. Sayre, is that the correct motion?
Sure, yes, that's the correct motion.
Okay. Motion by Alder Cronin. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Posey. Alder Cronin.
So the Finance Committee met tonight and discussed the requests for funds. There were 3 separate requests. One for us to commit to $300,000 to essentially construct the parking lot, to also take out a $2 million loan as guarantees for their pledge drive, and another $500,000 of loans that we would give them at a low interest rate. And while we are super excited about the expansion of the ice rink, think it will have great benefit to city residents and the city as a whole with the amount of business that it brings, we felt that the amount of risk that it exposes the city to was too great for us to commit to that. We do encourage them to go through the Economic Development Commission to potentially pursue that loan from the revolving loan funds. So there are avenues where the city can contribute, but at this point, we just weren't comfortable in taking on that kind of financial risk.
Thank you for that explanation. Motion before the body. Questions or comments or other discussion on the motion? Alder Humke.
I'm curious if there's any parts of that that the Finance Committee thought was okay. Like, was there, of the 3 items, was there certain items that you were opposed to and others potentially that we would be in favor of?
So the issue was for the $300,000, we don't have the money in the 2022 budget. We would have to borrow, which we weren't real interested in doing. The $2 million, the financial risk of that and the amount of money that would be committed to the tax levy, so essentially every citizen in Verona paying toward this, even though it's not a huge number, it's still, in terms of the interest that we would be paying on it, was just too much of a risk. We were in favor of them approaching the Economic Development Commission to ask about funding from the revolving loan fund. Our concern there is that in that dollar amount that they're requesting, that would essentially wipe out that entire fund. So we would not have the ability to make any other loans.
Alder Touche.
Thank you. I don't know how many of you have lived in Verona when we built our wonderful library. Bob Cachetta was our mayor, I believe, at the time, or he was on the council, one or the other, somewhere. At the time, I served on the library board. And Bob did a great job of selling this exact thing that the hockey rink's trying to sell. And what happened is, because the city had committed to guaranteeing the loan to the banks for the library, the donor said, hey, well, if the city's going to pay, well, yeah, we committed, we're going to donate this money to the library. They ended up not doing it because the city had already done it. So I would say the proper order for the city to commit to any amount of funds would be get your donors, get their money, let's see what you're short, and we can work something out. So I think as much as I applaud that they're trying to get a guarantee and get a loan and so on, it's really in reverse, because I don't know how many of you remember that situation, but yay for the library, but it was really supposed to be more publicly funded versus put on the city taxpayers. Thank you.
Other questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of denying the request for city funding from ICE Inc. for expansion of the hockey facility located at 451 East Verona Drive, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. If I could just add one real quick thing, I would highly encourage people affiliated with with ICE Inc. to continue talking to city staff and see what else we can work out. Anything further from finance?
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to 10B, which is Public Safety Committee. Alder Rieke.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve a change of agent request from Quick Trip, Inc., doing business as Quick Trip number 837, located at 400 East Verona Avenue.
Motion by Alder Rieke. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Touche. Alder Rieke.
This Quick Trip has requested a change of agent from Tracy Alvey to Melissa Williamson. A background check was completed, and there are no issues.
Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of granting the change of agent request from Quick Trip, Inc., doing business as Quick Trip 837, located at 400 East Verona Avenue, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion passes. Alder Rieke.
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 21-994, amending section 10-1-13 of the Code of Ordinances related to stop signs.
Second.
Motion by Alder Rieke, seconded by Alder Touche. Alder Rieke.
This ordinance is a request from Public Works to add stop signs in the woods at Cathedral Point as the development enters new phases of construction.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of ordinance number 21-994, amending section 10-1-13 of the Code of Ordinances related to stop signs, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Alder Rieke.
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 21-995, amending section 10-1-26 of the Code of Ordinances related to parking prohibited during certain periods of time.
Motion by Alder Rieke. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Hoeks, I believe. Alder Rieke.
This ordinance limits parking near Country View Elementary School on Tamarack Way. Parents are parking here to pick up children after school, which is limiting the field of vision for other drivers and pedestrians, making it unsafe. So it's just parking restricted during immediately before and after school hours.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of ordinance number 21-995, amending section 10-1-26 of the Code of Ordinances related to parking prohibited during certain periods of time, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Anything further from Public Safety?
Nothing further.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to 10C, which is Plan Commission. Alder Posey.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 21-050, approving a conditional use permit for gymnastics land use to be located north of John P. Livesey Boulevard in the Verona Technology Park.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Kimmett. Alder Posey.
The Plan Commission held the required public hearing on December 6, 2021. Comments from the Plan Commission included who are the tenants for the other buildings and verification regarding parking for the site to handle a gymnastics use. The Plan Commission voted 6-0 to recommend the Common Council approve the conditional use permit for gymnastics land use located north of John P. Livesey Boulevard.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Alder Cronin.
I did notice in the packet there was an issue about having employee parking be part of the number of parking stalls. Is that going to be marked and enforced, that employee parking is going to be at the rear?
Mr. Sayre?
I think overall it was the concern about just sharing it on the site itself, and as part of that, I think in the next item, they have to have a shared access and shared parking agreement as part of that certified survey map, but ultimately, you know, I think as those businesses and tenants and the gymnastics use itself, that's going to be kind of up to the operator to ensure that they're doing that. I mean, ultimately, if they don't, the clients are going to not be too happy. But our concern as staff was more from an overall shared parking standpoint. If there was a larger event out there, making sure that that entire area was available to be parked, and that is the case, that it would be available to park the whole area.
Questions or comments? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of resolution number 21-050, approving a conditional use permit for a gymnastics land use located north of John P. Livesey Boulevard, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion passes. Alder Posey.
Like to make a motion to approve resolution number 21-051, approving a certified survey map for 3 lots located north of John P. Livesey Boulevard with the following conditions. A shared access agreement shall be recorded to include all 3 lots. A shared parking agreement shall be recorded to include all 3 lots. And the certified survey map shall be modified to have the private access road labeled as a fire lane.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second? Second by Alder Cronin. Alder Posey.
The Plan Commission discussed the certified survey map and raised questions as to why the proposed property lines cross the private access road. The Plan Commission voted 6-0 on December 6, 2021 to recommend the Common Council approve the certified survey map with the conditions specified.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of resolution number 21-051, approving a certified survey map to create 3 lots located north of John P. Livesey Boulevard with the conditions specified in the packet, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Alder Posey.
I'd like to recommend the approval of resolution number 21-052, approving a conditional use permit to allow 2 drive-throughs located north of 233 Wildcat Way with the following condition. If the applicant's bypass lane is converted to a drive-through lane, the applicant will meet the surface pavement requirement through coordination with staff.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Touche. Alder Posey.
The Plan Commission held the required public hearing on December 6, 2021. Comments from the Plan Commission included concerns about traffic and pedestrians in this area. Will there be a shared access agreement? Will there be 2 drive-throughs, and how would that work? And will the fence stop people from cutting through the drive-through to access the building? The Plan Commission voted 6-0 to recommend the Common Council approve the conditional use permit to allow 2 drive-throughs located north of 233 Wildcat Way with the conditions specified.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Alder Touche, then Alder Cronin, then Alder Helmke, then Alder Kemet.
Thank you. I've heard from a few fellow alders about some traffic concerns, and I would this time like to ask Adam to kind of generally explain traffic concerns, possibly any potential traffic studies that may have already been done by either the school district or the previous developer, and even just the staff's general thoughts on traffic related to Quick Trip and Starbucks, please. Or if Carla wants to do it, I don't care.
No, I was just telling her if I missed something that she should jump in here and correct me or add to what I'm going to say here. So as part of the school district project, we did complete a traffic impact analysis. And as part of that, the school district was included in that. We also included the existing apartments out in the west end, included what we assumed was going to go into market number 5, and then also kind of plugged in basic land uses for the Urbach property as well. Generally, from that TIA, if I recall correctly, the uses that have been going into Market 5 are probably less intense than what we anticipated, and the uses that are actually on the east side with the Quick Trip and potential Starbucks is probably a little bit more intense than what we anticipated. So on the east side, we anticipated a typical, I think it was strip retail or commercial type development. Obviously, having a gas station, potential drive-through is a kind of a larger volume generator from a strictly size standpoint. Those buildings are probably smaller than what we thought. But on the other side of the street, though, obviously, in Market 5, the uses that we've seen going in are less intense what we anticipated. And then part of the reason that TIA was done was obviously for the district, and then ultimately Steve Brown Apartments updated that TIA as part of their Market 5 development. And at that time, they The reason they updated it was they wanted to have that left turn out towards Verona Avenue coming out of Market 5. That was critical for them to be able to get tenants into that space. So we had the initial TIA, then ultimately an update from Steve Brown, and which we ultimately signed off on just based upon the assumptions that we assumed was going to happen out there. We did have our traffic engineer who could unfortunately not be here tonight. He did take a look at this project. We've had a few emails back and forth with Jess Billmeyer. I'll just kind of read, I think, one of his emails he sent to me, and I've talked to him about this a couple times, and he sent a few emails on this. This one's actually from last week. He goes, "This is an area that we're monitoring on a semi-regular basis." Actually, Jess's kids go to the high school, so he's there dropping them off on a regular basis. So he's kind of seen what's going on there. Jess says, "I think the base infrastructure is in really good shape for the basic number of lanes. The school drop-off and pickup times are very busy, but they are also short-lived. It'll be hard to justify adding more lanes, signal infrastructure for these short duration periods. I think at most we would consider access and signage changes if we see problems." So in short, from how Jess has looked at this, I think the question is, I've asked him, is it going to be a problem? And we don't know. We don't know if it's going to be a problem. The problem point out here with potential traffic, and we talked about this at Plan Commission as well, is going to be that left turn. It's going to be that left turn coming in off of, as you come off Verona Avenue on, I think it's West End Circle there, and then make the left into the shared kind of access point with this development and Quick Trip. It's also the left coming out of Market 5, and then ultimately the left coming out of this towards the high school as well, for that southbound movement. Internally on the site, we have no concerns of how this is circulating. If there are any type of backups with the drive-through at Starbucks, it's going to back up internally on the site or on the Quick Trip property. But it's that left-hand turning movement that, honestly, it could be a problem. What Jess has said is if it does become a problem, ultimately we're probably looking at signage. I'm actually not exactly sure what type of signage, but potentially limiting turning movements at certain times of day. You could have signage that says that. Obviously, that's an enforcement issue as well. Ultimately, if it becomes a major problem and a public safety issue, we would look at closing that access point. That's an access point that, from a public safety standpoint, if there is a public safety concern in the future, we would just block that off. People would not be able to make that turn. So, as of right now, what Jess is telling me, we just don't know if it's going to be a problem. We're talking about a very short time period, typically in the morning, obviously, that there could be challenges there. Are there other changes that we could make out there? We've talked internally. I don't think it's appropriate tonight to kind of get into our ideas that we've had out there because there are larger impacts on those changes. But we've talked about our ideas as well. Ultimately, what Jess said, though, is if we do close this off, he did have some reservations about the traffic leaving Market 5. What he said was if we close it off, there will be additional potential U-turns on Verona Avenue. Ultimately, people leaving Market 5 wanting to get back to Verona Avenue will head out Victory Lane to West Verona Avenue and then potentially make that U-turn to head back westbound as well. So that's the one risk. If we do close that off, there will be some type of counter effect to that as well. So we've looked at it, but like I said, at the end of the day, we think it might be okay, but we don't have 100% confidence. Anything you want to add, Carla?
I think you covered it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Alder Touche, still on the floor.
So then I'm thinking about the Quick Trip, right? So let's just say we make changes there, it's going to impact Quick Trip.
Microphone.
Sorry. Thank you, Andy. I'm thinking about the Quick Trip, which is there already, and I know this Starbucks is supposed to go in that same space or shared space. Who's the owner of that property? Is it Quick Trip themselves selling it to Starbucks, or is it someone else?
Mr. Sayre?
Quick Trip bought up the entire former Urbach property. So you've got where the Quick Trip is, where this lot is, and they also basically own the land down, is that Wildcat Way, I think it's called? Yes, okay. Down Wildcat Way to the dry tributary that runs kind of underneath that bridge they put across Stewart's Woods Road. So they own a sizable chunk of land there. But so the Quick Trip currently owns all that.
So my concern about Quick Trip, they know what they're getting if they get a Starbucks there. So they know added traffic, and they know, I have to assume this is a good thing, because honestly, more traffic in amongst the businesses brings more visibility to all the businesses there. So that is all. Thank you.
I have Alder Cronin, then Helmke, then Kemet. Alder Cronin.
So hearing some of this is helpful, but I still have reservations about just the volume of traffic and that we don't know how much that volume is going to increase. We do know that class sizes for the high school are going to continue to grow. We are talking about young drivers. I'm also concerned hearing that our solutions would be to put up signage, because we also know that young drivers are not always great at following those signs. I think there's a risk from both a traffic standpoint and a pedestrian standpoint. I think the market for Starbucks is here. We know that. So if we give ourselves a little bit more time to see, because this is really the first year that the high school has been fully occupied, to see the impacts on traffic, to give us a better picture of what this might look like, I would be in favor of that. But right now, I'm not in favor of approving this.
Alder Helmke, then Alder Kemet.
Yeah, I also am hesitant about this plan. I have a child who walks, is a pedestrian in that area, and it's very concerning. I don't like the idea that we are going to have an incident happen for us to react to it. I feel like if we know that there are issues potentially coming, that for me is enough of a signal that we just need time to figure out what's going to happen. And I agree, there's a market here for Starbucks, and that can happen when it needs to.
Alder Kemet.
Sort of similar hesitation, and my question to the company would be, does it have to be a drive-through Starbucks? Starbucks can exist without a drive-through. And Grace Coffee has a drive-through right across the street, so I don't know. It seems like, are they willing to move forward if they don't get the drive-through, I guess is my question.
Is that a question for the applicant?
Yes.
If the applicant would like to introduce themselves and address that?
Good evening. I'll sign in here after I'm done speaking. Mark Seidel with Pinnacle Engineering Group. Address is 20725 Watertown Road, Brookfield, Wisconsin. I am here representing the design team and the developer. I was the civil engineering consultant that worked with Starbucks and the architect throughout this project. So if I can kind of step back a little bit and then answer your question as well.
I'm sorry, can you just answer the question?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
I cannot definitively say that I've seen a new build Starbucks without drive-throughs. So typically with COVID right now, the mobile pickup order is very, very, important to them, along with drive-through and making sure we have enough queuing. So I don't have, Starbucks' pulse on this, but I can definitely tell you I've not designed any sites for them in the past 3 to 4 years that does not have a drive-through.
Thank you. Alder Kemet? Yeah.
So are we 100% set on this site? I know there are several other options in town that might not have these particular issues with the school.
Again, I don't have Starbucks' ear on if they're, it's active another site or not, but I can tell you they've looked at this site for many, many months, multiple developers actually. So I've actually worked with not only this developer, but also, 1 or 2 others. So I know they're very, very keen on this site alone.
Thank you. Motion before the body. Other questions or comments on the motion? Alder Hoax and Alder Posey.
I guess I would, with the question to the drive-through, I would assume that the drive-through is important since there are other businesses that are available to lease across the street that they obviously did not find appropriate for them. So I would assume the drive-through is important. I guess, my question is if we are okay with the Quick Trip there, which obviously has a ton of traffic, is always busy. I guess I just don't know if people, what makes people concerned and the Quick Trip was okay, but the Starbucks is not okay. I guess that's my question to the group. I don't know what makes it so different, or if it's just that it's Starbucks, or is it the more traffic? Because I guess Quick Trip was okay, but then something else isn't. And I'm open to discussion.
Alder Posey.
Actually, this is, I'm going to ask the applicant, can you explain a little bit more about the queuing and the plan and how this is different than the queuing we've seen traditionally? Because I know, and I'll just ask the same question I asked last week, which is, what I see when I see Starbucks is I see backed up lines that are backing into roads and backing into parking lots and causing traffic concerns. And with everyone's concerns and mine as well about young drivers as well as pedestrians, this is a big deal. So if you could explain a little bit more about Starbucks and how they're queuing and how this is different.
Sure, and thank you for that opportunity here. So, like I said, I've been working on Starbucks development for a better part of 5 years. At the beginning, when I first started working with them, the queue line to the menu board was 4 cars, and then 5 cars. And now, since COVID hit, it's car number 6, and now it's car number 7. They want that menu board pushed further and further back so they can get more and more queuing in the drive-thru. So whenever we look at a new site for Starbucks, it's minimum car 7, plus try to get as many more cars as possible. So what's really unique on this site is we have 12 car queuing just in the drive-thru before it hits the parking lot. And then if for some odd reason they have additional queuing, we have an additional 12 cars that can fit in the parking lot itself before it ever back up onto Quick Trip's property. So this site is very, very unique. It's probably one of the biggest queuings that I've ever seen and designed. But then we've also really, tried to provide as much parking as possible so we can eliminate the drive-through if necessary. But then also, we have worked with staff for a long time on this project to try to find pedestrian safety and find the best route. And I think what, in these plans, what's shown is probably the best bet based on topography and different features of the site. So it's really been a multifaceted approach, including with Quick Trip. So we approached Quick Trip, a few months back about a different proposal, multiple buildings, and then we pared it down. And then we came back just this last month and said, hey, we need to restrict parking along that front. So it's been a really iterative process between staff, but then also the seller, Quick Trip, to kind of find a compromise with everybody and move forward with a good project. So as a design professional, I feel really, really good about this site with the queuing, with the parking, with the access on the site. Hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion before the body, Alder Kimmett.
So when you originally got up, was there something else you wanted to say? I wanted to give you the opportunity.
I think I covered most of it there. Thank you, though. I appreciate it.
No worries. I think the difference between the Quick Trip, which is a pretty steady flow, and the Starbucks would be that it's overlapping busy times with the high school. Quick Trip, it's going to be kind of in and out throughout the day, but people are getting coffee and going to school at the same time. With the addition of Epic right there, that's a ton of folks potentially flowing into that one space very quickly. I think if our staff feels comfortable, I feel more comfortable, but I do think it's something we're going to watch very closely.
Other questions or comments from the council? Alder Posey.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, I don't know if question or comment, and this is more towards staff and evaluating the turns, and if we had to go the sort of nuclear route of getting rid of that left hand, I would hope that we can look at alternative safe pedestrian routes. I know we've been talking about it for other areas of the city, or something along those lines that would be less of an impact, because one of the things I've been thinking about every day, just about, since last week, is are we really going to make that large of a change for one vendor, and because we're putting that big of an impact on everybody else in that area because of one business? And so I would hope we can maybe come up with some other alternatives besides getting rid of that. I know that's pretty much the best option right now, but I don't know if there's anything else.
Mr. Sayre?
Yeah, and the reason I'm hesitant to kind of share some alternatives that would impact the school district potentially, we have not shared those with the school district. That's why I want to be fair to our partner there as well, not just start dropping ideas out without talking to them first, that they should have a chance to weigh on, because it will potentially impact them. I mean, part of the if we made changes, the first approach, like Jess said, would be signage, but I mean, if we could somehow get more gaps to open up those left turns going in, especially in the morning, the gapping is kind of the key there. It's that left-hand turning movement that, like I said, that's the reservation that we have. And quite honestly, we'd probably have that we'd probably have that for many uses going on this property, just because long-term, that was the concern we even had with potentially opening this up in the first place. I mean, this isn't the first time I forget when this came forward initially, but we've kind of talked about this before. I don't recall the exact conversations, but we had some hesitations on opening that, and the balancing here for us, at least the staff, was, trying to get development, especially commercial development on this side of town, and trying to balance that as best we could. And I forget which one came first, if it was the commercial with I think the school came first, knowing the school was going there, but we're trying to balance it as staff as best we can, and the struggle is just you have a window of a day, 1 hour of a day that creates the pause, I guess, in this case. And that's like I said, the hesitation from us. But yes, we're not going to go, if we were to close that, there'd be a process. It'd have to go through public safety. It's not something staff would just go out one day and start pouring concrete and say, we've closed it. It'd be a process. It'd be a whole process of having that closure in place, probably talking with those businesses and the owners of those properties as well. But it's not our first choice. And part of it is we want to just see how things go. But that is the ultimate kind of last resort. If it came to that, we could do that.
Alder Touche.
Yeah, as I'm listening here, I've been thinking about it. There's a lot of human nature here. If I'm going to Starbucks during the first hour of high school, and there's a line just to get in high school and crazy traffic, I'm going to keep on driving. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to sit in this line for half an hour to try to get through Starbucks. I'm just going to move on, or personally, I make coffee at home, but it's, we're thinking that everyone's just so desperate they got to get Starbucks, so they're just going to queue in some line and wait for it, along with a bunch of high school students trying to get to school. I actually think just closing the left turn lane during I'll just call it the crazy hours of students coming and going. I have 3 kids that went through the old high school, and it was crazy, so I'll continue calling it that. But yeah, I'm not inclined to punish one potential new business because there's already an existing business and other businesses already there. I don't think that's very fair either. Then the question comes down to, well, what if something else wants to move in there and they have a drive-through? And every drive-through, are we going to say no because of the potential traffic risk? I think the risks are always there. I remember adding tables to the curb by the wine place down the road, and we're seating people right next to the curb. That's pretty scary, in my opinion. And I voted against it at the time for public safety reasons. Yet this is a lot less scary because people are in cars. Pedestrians, the sidewalks are very wide there. There's lots of room. So I personally am for this business going in. I think we can adjust as a city, the turn lanes, the signs. Worst case, which I don't think we would get to, but of course I'm not a professional. I let the traffic engineer be that. Put in curbage, not allow a left-hand turn. Lastly, I've also heard comments that a semis that come in to do deliveries, a Quick Trip can block that lane. I'm sure we can work with Quick Trip to additionally encourage them to come around and come up the back way through there, so it's all right turns for the semis, less likely to back up traffic. Thank you.
Motion before the body. Other questions or comments? Seeing no further discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor of resolution number 21-052, approving conditional use permit for 2 drive-throughs located north of 233 Wildcat Way, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
Could I get hands raised on the nose? It passes 4-3. Next, we'll move on to item 4, which is a discussion and possible action regarding resolution number 21-053, approving a certified survey map to create 2 lots located north of 233 Wildcat Way.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 21-053, approving a certified survey map to create 2 lots located north of 233 Wildcat Way.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Kimmett. Alder Posey.
The Plan Commission voted 6-0 on December 6, 2021 to recommend the Common Council approve the certified survey map to create 2 lots located north of 233 Wildcat Way.
Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of resolution number 21-053, approving a certified survey map to create 2 lots located north of 233 Wildcat Way, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Alder Posey.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 21-996, approving a comprehensive plan amendment to designate approximately 21.5 acres of land as multifamily for 525 multifamily units, 2.2 acres of land as commercial, and 5.3 acres of land as public institutional located southeast of County Highway M and County Highway PD. This with the following requirements. Approximately 21.5 acres will be designated as multifamily with up to 525 multifamily units. Approximately 2.2 acres designated as commercial and approximately 5.3 acres designated as public institutional.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second? Second by Alder Cronin. Alder Posey.
Thank you. In November, the applicant proposed to designate approximately 18.9 acres of land as multifamily for 600 multifamily units, 2.1 acres of land as commercial, and 5.6 acres of land as public institutional. The Plan Commission held a required public hearing on November 1, 2021. Comments from the public include the developer has worked closely with the church to accommodate both parties' interests. Single-family housing would be a better fit for the property. Concerns about a 4-story building close to the single-family lot lines, concerns about water and flooding that will occur after removal of trees and other vegetation. Stormwater will be maintained on the property and the wetlands will be remediated. Comments from the Plan Commission in November included diversifying the housing options, verification of the largest apartment buildings in the city, support for this type of housing, but concerns over volume, height, and location of some of the proposed buildings. The pond should be used for overflow and aesthetics. No support for the apartment buildings in proximity to single-family homes. And what are the phases for development? The Plan Commission voted 7-0 on November 1st, 2021, to postpone making a recommendation until further information was provided that was requested in the Plan Commission comments. The Plan Commission discussed a revised plan on December 6, 2021. The applicant added townhomes to the overall design of the site and included a phasing plan, which is the plan this evening. Comments from the Plan Commission included in what phase will the church and commercial development occur. The phases of development seem reasonable with a big picture vision for the site. Overall support for proposed changes for adding townhomes to the site and reducing the height of buildings close to the existing single-family homes. And will the trees in the existing wetland be removed? The Plan Commission voted 6-0 to recommend the Common Council approve the comprehensive plan with the requirements we've already discussed.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, I guess I'll just add one thing. I just want to say I appreciate the developer taking the time to work with the Plan Commission and to, reduce the number of apartments and make it kind of fit in a little bit better with that site. Alder Posey.
I'll also add that, and again, said this before, but the willingness to work with the Plan Commission and with this body to hear the feedback and to actually come back multiple times to develop this, I really appreciate that. I know we all spoke last week about how we appreciated that, and I think it's gotten to a good spot, but definitely, anybody who's got anything else?
Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Alder Kimmett.
So this is going to be directly across the street from the other proposed development, correct?
Mr. Sayer?
So this is located on the existing West Madison Bible Church property, which is on the east side of M, and also the Wharton property, which is just east of the substation up at the intersection of M and PD. So this would be on the opposite side of kind of where Whispering Coves is currently developing, and where you have Morningside Boulevard, which was recently constructed.
Okay. So my feedback would just be definitely stick with that shared bike program because there's going to be a lot of folks there here shortly.
Alder Humke.
Can I just ask a question about the residents? Are they okay with, were they at the plan commission meeting, and are they comfortable with the adjustments that were made?
Alder Posey, or I could.
can always jump in and add more. So they were at the previous meeting, the one in November, and gave a lot of feedback. That was kind of that first paragraph of information there was what happened at that meeting in November. They were not present at the last meeting, but the feedback, it's obvious that it's in there, especially moving the homes back, the new build, back away from that tree line that borders the neighborhood, as well as changing from having the really tall 4-story buildings right there to having more townhomes where it can come through and feel kind of, I don't know about you, but I like the fact that it feels more like a neighborhood and matches more with the existing neighborhood. It's not exact because that's more rural, but yeah.
Yeah, I did like the plans. I thought they were nice. I just wanted to make sure that that was full, yeah, and if they didn't show up, that's fine. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of ordinance number 21-996, adopting an amendment to the City of Verona Comprehensive Plan to designate 21.5 acres as multifamily for 525 units, 2.2 acres of land is commercial, and 5.3 acres of land is public institutional located at County Highway M and County Highway PD, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Alder Posey.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 21-054, approving a certified survey map to create 2 lots at 127 North Main Street.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second? Second by Alder Kimmett. Alder Posey.
The Plan Commission discussed the certified survey map and asked if this approval would affect anything for the future on North Main Street. The Plan Commission voted 6-0 on December 6, 2021 to recommend the Common Council approve the certified survey map to create 2 lots located at 127 North Main Street.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Oh, sure. Alder Carden.
I just wasn't clear in the packet. So is it one lot currently that has a house on it and the rest of the property is vacant and we're splitting that into 2? And why?
Mr. Sayre?
Sorry, I'm pulling it up. So what they're doing is creating 2 lots. You'll have the existing house on one lot, and the second house will be vacant. I think the applicant has indicated that he may, at some point, construct another single-family home in that location. But I think that's kind of the intent of it. I know when we adopted the revised zoning ordinance, he was pretty insistent that we keep that as single-family, because that's what the houses are being used for right now. He rents them out. But I think his intention might be to construct another house on that lot too, which would be vacant as part of the CSM.
Other questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of resolution number 21-054, approving a certified survey map to create 2 lots located at 127 North Main Street, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion passes. Alder Posey.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 21-055, approving a certified survey map to create 3 lots located at 103 East Park Lane and 201 South Main Street, with the following condition. The certified survey map shall be modified for Lot 2 to include a 12-foot private sanitary and water utility easement for the benefit of Lot 2 of this CSM.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second? Second by Alder Kimmett. Alder Posey.
The Plan Commission voted 6-0 on December 6, 2021, to recommend the Common Council approve the certified survey map to create 3 lots located at 103 East Park Lane and 201 South Main Street with the conditions specified.
Questions or comments on this motion? Alder Cronin.
I just want to clarify, this is where the White House is going? Okay.
Yes, it is.
I think it's going to be super cool. I've never seen a house moved, so I'm.
This will be my third house I've seen moved.
Neat. Other questions or comments on the certified survey map? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of resolution number 21-055, approving a certified survey map to create 3 lots located at 103 East Park Lane and 201 South Main Street with the conditions specified in the packet, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion passes. Alder Posey.
All right, I would like to approve the approval of, or like to move for approval of ordinance number 21-997, approving a correction of ordinance number 15-868 to include parcel 062/068-093-8120-0 in the city of Verona.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Kimmett. Alder Posey.
The Plan Commission voted 6-0 on December 6, 2021, to recommend the Common Council approve a correction to ordinance number 15-868 to include the annexation of parcel 062/068-093-8120-0 into the city of Verona.
Mr. Sayer, could you give a brief background on kind of what's going on?
Yeah, this is kind of an odd one. So we presumed we had annexed this parcel back in 2015 when we annexed the entire right-of-way of Northern Lights Road. Apparently that was not the case, which we assumed we did. That was all in our legal documents and whatnot. So this is the process the state has advised us to take to attempt to correct this error, which in essence, there's a strip of land out there that was not brought into the city. So we're trying to clean this up. So it's a little bit convoluted and odd, but this is the process of what the state said is come back, adopt this correction ordinance, and that will hopefully take care of the problem. I'm not sure if it will, but that's the advice we've gotten.
Questions? Alder Touche.
So have they been paying city taxes?
Well, honestly, it's currently in the town. I don't think they've paid taxes on it since probably many, many years. I think we've tried to trace back the owner. They don't exist anymore. I think it goes back to about the 50s. So we're just trying to clean this up because it's under the road. The road is on top of this parcel, but it's a remnant piece. The long story, I guess, is long ago when surveys were done, they would annex the property lines to the center line of the road. So as you count these old parcels, we've run into that in other annexations, but it goes to the center line of the road. Now with new surveys, what we do is we actually dedicate the right of way out. In the past, they didn't dedicate it. It was just to the center line, and it was presumed that each side had 30 or 33 and a half feet. So we're into one of those strips that was probably in the middle of a road at some point, and then over time, these old surveys have gaps and are notorious for errors. So this is probably a gap that was just missed, and hopefully this does the trick.
Other questions or comments? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of ordinance number 21-997, correction to ordinance number 15-868 to include annexation of parcel 062/0608-093-8120-0, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And that motion passes. Anything further from Plan Commission?
There's nothing further from Plan Commission this evening.
Can we hear that parcel number again?
We'll move on to 10D, which is Public Works, Sewer, and Water Committee. Alder Touche.
Thank you. Item 10D1, I am making a motion to approve project closeout and change order number 1 for project ID 2020-109, North Main Street Water Main Replacement Project, not to exceed $4,614.67.
Motion by Alder Touche. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Humke. Alder Touche.
Madrill Excavating has substantially completed the North Main Street Water Main Replacement Project. All project documentation has been provided by the contractor. This change order is to rectify as-built quantities for the work required to complete the project. The additions of certain items, including but not limited to additional curb and gutter, additional granular, trench backfill, and contract notes. Total contract value is $224,121.92.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the project closeout and change order number 1 for project 2020-109 North Main Street Water Main Replacement Project in the amount specified, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Alder Touche.
Next up, item 10D2. I am making a motion to approve a professional services agreement with MSA for project ID 2021-108, US Highway 18/151, southbound auxiliary lane land acquisition.
Motion by Alder Touche. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Humke.
I have a not to exceed of $24,000.
And that was the understanding of the second as well?
Second, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. This agreement is for professional services for land acquisition negotiations and documentation services for future construction of an auxiliary lane on US Highway 18-151. There are 3 properties planned to have land acquisition needs. This auxiliary lane will be on the southbound direction between Highway 69 and West Verona Avenue interchange. Thank you.
Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the professional services agreement with MSA for project ID 2021-108, US Highway 18/151, southbound auxiliary lane, land acquisition in the not to exceed amount, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion passes. Alder Touche.
Thank you. Item 10D3, I'm making a motion to approve a professional services agreement with AECom for project ID 2022-106, the 2022 Stormwater Services, not to exceed $64,090.
Motion by Alder Touche. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Humke. Alder Touche.
Thank you. This is for consulting services that the city needs done. Includes a lot of items, mostly to do with stormwater permits, dry weather monitoring, erosion control monitoring, and management of the ordinances, stormwater permitting, an annual report, best practices, inspections, management, water quality studies, and permitting. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of professional services agreement with AECom for project ID 2022-106 for the 2022 stormwater services in the not to exceed amount specified, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion passes. Alder Touche.
Thank you. Last item for Public Works, 10D4. I am making a motion for a professional services agreement with AECom for project ID 2022-108, Wildcat Way Water Main Connection, not to exceed $59,890.
Motion by Alder Touche. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Humke. Alder Touche.
This agreement with AECom is for the water main extension between Wildcat Way and Paoli Street along the Military Ridge Trail. This agreement includes survey, design, plan development, construction permitting, working in waterway permitting, easement preparation, project manual, and bidding services. Coordination with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources regarding the Military Ridge Trail has already occurred to make them aware of the project. This project has an aggressive schedule to correlate with construction schedule for US Highway 18-151 Auxiliary Lane project. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, All those in favor of approving the professional services agreement with AECom for project ID 2022-108 Wildcat Way Water Main Connection, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion passes. Anything further from Public Works?
Nothing's changed since I announced it earlier.
Next, we will move on to item 11, which is new business. Discussion and possible action regarding the appointment of election inspectors and special voting deputies for the 2022/2023 election term. Mr. Sayer.
Thank you. This item requires the Common Council appoint election inspectors and special voting deputies for the city of Verona for the term beginning January 1st of 2022 and ending on December 31st of 2023. Included in the list are nominees from the Republican Party, Democratic Party, and unaffiliated nominees from the city clerk.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Helmke.
How many people are we looking to approve?
Mr. Sayer? Oh, sorry. Clerk Licht?
The list is in the packet. It's well over 100, I think.
So we're looking to approve all of them?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Questions, comments, or, Alder Cronin?
I would like to make a motion to approve appointment of election inspectors and special voting deputies for the 2022-2023 election term as specified in the packet.
Motion by Alder Cronin. Is there a second?
I second, but want to jokingly ask that all the names are read. I'm kidding, of course, but just feeling mischievous tonight.
Very tempted to grant that and just motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Alder Cronin.
I would just like to add that the city of Verona and the city clerk and all of the electors that we are about to approve, and have many of whom have served previously, have always done an excellent job in keeping our elections safe and secure.
Second that.
Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of appointing the appointment of election inspectors and special voting deputies for the 2022/2023 election term, as specified in the packet, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion passes. Next, we will move on to 11B, which is a discussion and possible action regarding ordinance number 21-998, amending ordinance number 21-993. Mr. Sayer.
Thank you. This is a cleanup ordinance. This ordinance amends the voting ward for the property included in the Marty annexation. At the time of the annexation was approved, the new county supervisory districts were not approved. Now the newly adopted maps designate the annexed property as County Supervisory District 29. Since the supervisory districts is different than the rest of the city of Verona, which is designated as County Supervisory District 32, the city needs to create and designate this territory as Ward 13.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Posey.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 21-998, amending ordinance number 21-993.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Touche. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of ordinance number 21-998, amending ordinance number 21-993, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion passes. Next up, we have 11C, which is a discussion and possible action regarding ordinance number 21-999, amending section 2-2-2 of the Code of Ordinances. Mr. Sayer.
Once again, this is a cleanup tied back to the last one. This ordinance designates Ward 13 as part of City of Verona Aldermanic District 1.
Thank you for that explanation. Alder Kimmett.
My only question will be, once the development is in there, what does District 1 look like, population-wise?
Mr. Sayer?
So since that one was a few years out, that wasn't really factored in, especially with the phasing of it. We haven't gone that far yet, to be honest with you. When this was coming out, we knew this was going to be a potential change that we were going to have to make, just based on what the county had drawn in the tight timeline that we were given. Phasing this realistically, I don't think the Marty property is going to be built out fully by the next census, which is 2030. So I think, not saying we have some time, there will be probably some people living there, but the whole thing won't be built out. I think best case, you're probably looking at maybe 150, 180, 200 homes at the most. A lot of people, but not the whole thing.
Other questions or comments? Or motions? Alder Posey.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 21-999, amending section 2-2-2 of the Code of Ordinances.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alder Kimmett. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of ordinance number 21-999, amending section 2-2-2 of the Code of Ordinances, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And that motion passes. Next, we'll move on to 11D, which is the discussion and possible action regarding a transit service agreement between the City of Madison and the City of Verona. Mr. Zaire.
Thank you. The proposed agreement will continue to provide Metro bus service to the City of Verona from January 1st of 2022 through December 31st of 2026. Right now, Metro is actually updating all the agreements they have across the kind of entire area. So anyone that they have Metro transportation to, they're reviewing and basically approving this very similar, if not the same agreement that we're looking at tonight. This agreement will automatically renew for 5-year periods unless Madison and Verona gives notice. Further, the agreement includes a 180-day notice provision that would allow the City of Verona to terminate the agreement. Costs associated with the Metro bus service are passed through and paid by Epic, which is actually the next item on the agenda.
Alder Touche.
Can you highlight the differences?
Sure. I mean, the big difference is there's a kind of a large kind of upfront deposit that's required as part of this. I think the Metro's in the process of kind of building up their reserves. Beyond that, we're not going to see a change in service. It's kind of what you see today is what will continue. I know Epic has a desire to have additional buses on their campus. The issue in the past has been having the buses available. It's a capacity issue. So long term, I would think you would continue to see more buses going to the Epic campus. But this agreement for the average person in town, no one's going to notice any change.
Thank you.
Alder Kimmett.
Could we amend it if we ever wanted to expand service in Verona, or would we have to nullify the whole thing and start over?
Mr. Zaire.
We'd have to do some type of amendment with this agreement, and most likely with our agreement with Epic. Right now, Epic obviously pays for it, but if we were to expand that and, say you went into, hypothetically, just went north or south outside of the kind of the Epic commuters coming into it, Epic obviously wouldn't pay for that. So it would take an amendment to this agreement and then the next item on the agenda.
Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Cronin.
I would like to make a motion to approve the transit service agreement between the City of Madison and the City of Verona.
Motion by Alder Cronin. Is there a second? Seconded by Alder Hoaxed. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the transit service agreement between the City of Madison and the City of Verona signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion passes. Next, we'll move on to 11E, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the transit service repayment agreement between the City of Verona and Epic Systems Corporation. Mr. Sayer.
Thank you. The proposed agreement requires Epic Systems Corporation to reimburse the city for all payments made by the City of Verona to the City of Madison under the terms of the transit service agreement. Kind of back to the other item, this is why we would have to amend the first agreement and this one as well, because what Epic is agreeing to is when we get billed by transit, it's a pass-through that they pay.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or
Move
motions?
approval.
Motion by Alder Touche. Is there a second? Seconded by Alder Hoaxed. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the transit service repayment agreement between the City of Verona and Epic Systems Corporation, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion passes. And thank you for putting Epic in title case and not in all caps. We will move on to 11F, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the agreement with the Department of Natural Resources regarding the paving of the Military Ridge State Trail. Mr. Sayer.
Thank you. City staff has been pursuing the paving of a portion of the Military Ridge State Trail for more than 20 years. I had to call Dave Walker, actually, on that to find out how long he's been talking about this, and I think Dave told me late 90s, early 2000s, so we've got a month of Dave to ask him that question, but it's been, what he said, it's been about 20 years. City and Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources staff has begun to recently negotiate or work on agreements to pave the trail from Old County Highway PB to the high school property. And on the high school property, as you go just past where Wildcat Lane kind of goes under that culvert, that bridge, there's kind of a paved walkway that kind of heads towards the school. It'd be that first one as you're just kind of past that underpass there. As part of the agreement, the city would design the project, build the asphalt path, and ultimately maintain the path, including plowing in the winter. The agreement would also require the city to work cooperatively with the Snowmobile Club to secure access points to services, including gas, in the high school area. And that's something that we actually started last year, kind of on a trial basis with the school district and with the city on our property and the school district property. It went pretty well. I know it's a priority for the Snowmobile Club is to have gas in that area. The city's 5-year capital improvement plan has identified this project for potential design in 2023, 2024, and construction in 2025. Staff is requesting feedback from the council about entering into an agreement with the DNR for the paving of the Military Ridge State Trail. I think the important kind of points that we're looking for tonight is ultimately, as part of this, the city would be on the hook for the cost of designing this work. That includes basically how we can pave it, how we can potentially fix the bridges, design the bridges. DNR obviously would have to review that per their specs and requirements. We would be required for potentially for paving it as well, and then ultimately from a maintenance standpoint as well. And that includes plowing, potentially trimming of trees on there, et cetera. We've had some conversations about potential just how enforcement works from a pass standpoint. So there's going to be more to come on that. What we're kind of pushing for is to have that almost as a fare-free, not fair, a pass-free zone, or at least some type of stipulation or understanding that enforcement's not going to occur in that portion of it if we're building it and maintaining it. But that's a detail that we haven't, quite honestly, we haven't gotten that far in the conversations yet. As part of this, the reason the Snowmobile Club is involved is these trails, and that's been a hang-up for 20 years, has been the Snowmobile Club, because these trails were built, the bridges were built, and the trails were built by the snowmobile fees. So the club has had a lot of control and kind of power over the course of the years to, I don't want to say veto any of these ideas, but in kind of working with the DNR, working with Dane County, working with the club and the school district, they've identified some alternative routes, but one of the big requirements for the club, though, is to have that access to Quick Trip, because they have limited gas opportunities to fill up, I guess, south of here towards Oregon and Paoli. So that's that's why that one's in there as a requirement, as part of coming to this, kind of these terms in this agreement. Is part of it was securing the access through the school district property and city property to ensure the club would have access to the gas station. So, like I said, more importantly tonight, we're going to be working on these agreements with the DNR. We're looking just to make sure the council is comfortable with the fact that the city is going to be paying for the design of this, the city is going to be paying to build it, and the city is going to be paying to maintain it. Also with the stipulation that we'll have to continue to work with the Snowmobile Club to kind of secure their gasoline and their access out there as well too. So I'd appreciate any feedback. We just don't want to get too far into this to find out that there are concerns, questions, or things that we should be addressing as part of these agreements. And if there are, we would like to kind of address them on the front end versus later on.
And just to clarify, are you looking for a motion of support or just general consensus?
I'm not looking for a motion. I'm looking just for general feedback, consensus on this topic.
Alder Kimmett.
Firstly, yay, thank you. I think this is going to be a boon for accessibility on the path. I know I hear a lot about that. Have we considered at all a sort of a civilian conservation corps aspect to actually getting the work done? if the city's on the hook for the cost of it, can we not be more imaginative in how we actually execute?
Mr. Sayre?
Probably from a construction standpoint, I don't think that's going to probably be feasible, just from the standpoint of there's certain requirements we're going to have to hit as part of the DNR. From a maintenance standpoint, I think that would be potentially kind of a interesting kind of idea, conversation, if there was interest out there. I know, trash, litter, brush, weeds, no different than what we have kind of behind here with the East Side Interceptor project. I mean, there's potential needs out there from a long-term maintenance standpoint. From a strictly construction standpoint, we're going to be looking at potential grant opportunities, whether through the county, possibly through the DNR as well. But just from a construction standpoint, it could potentially be a sizable project to kind of get this done. I think some of the bridges might have to be replaced as well. That's one of the items we have to look at too. So part of the design work is going to be going out there and trying to get our hands around how much you're going to have to do here.
And if I could just add, I think, depending on how 11K goes, if we have a new parks director, that would definitely be something to bring up with that individual. Alder Cronin.
I am also really excited about the possibility of really creating a better pedestrian linkage between the West End and downtown. But I would also like to request, as this process progresses, for any potential tree trimming that might happen, that we are given notice of when and where that might happen, because I know that's something that tends to blow up my inbox when trees are cut down.
Other feedback from Mr. Sayre? Alder Hoax?
Just a question, so no longer they'll have snowmobiles on this trail if we pave it, correct?
Mr. Sayre?
Correct. So snowmobiles would only be on the trail west of where the paving would stop of the high school. They cannot run on the asphalt. It's not good for the sleds. It's also not good for the paths as well. So neither party likes that.
Okay. And then, I would like to say, I think it's, so before today, actually, when I went on a run on my favorite path over there, I like to run the path because I don't like my knees get all bent out of shape when I run on the cement. But yeah, no, I love the path and I love the soft surface, but it was wet and you could tell there's tons of bikers that have gone through and left ruts. And so that's going to freeze and be a terrible path for the rest of the winter. So I think it's actually a pretty good idea. Obviously, not writing blank checks, but would certainly like to know how much it's going to cost before we give it the stamp of approval. But I'm actually in favor of that.
Alder Juche?
Sooner, please. Thank you.
Alder Kimmett?
So what's the timetable for when we'd know sort of more what the cost will look like?
Mr. Sayre?
We have some estimates. I don't have those next time we come back. I know it was included in Theron's kind of 5-year budget presentation. I know the number he put in for, I was just checking my notes. I know the number he put in for the actual reconstruction. The construction of the asphalt did not include the bridges. So part of that is we have to figure out, can we reuse the bridges or is it just a decking issue? Next time it comes back, though, we'll have some better numbers. Ultimately, if we set these agreements up, we're going to try to set them up kind of in phases. We're going to have one that basically says if we go out and we design it, that we have the ability to move on to the potential construction of it. If we don't do that, the rest of them kind of would drop off at that point. If we go on and construct it, then the next one kind of trips in and triggers in as well. So ultimately, the council here you're not fully signing off on building it. We're going to have some potential, if all of a sudden we get to the design in 2023 is when it starts and it's going to cost hypothetically, say $200,000-$300,000 and we go, no, we can't do that, but money's too tight. Potentially the agreement would drop off, but you're not committing to it. But in essence, we're trying to set the framework with the DNR, at least from the city standpoint. If we start spending money, that they can't pull the rug out from underneath us, and the administration changes or something changes the DNR, and then all of a sudden we've designed this thing, we've put out the bid, and they're ready to start the next day, and all of a sudden they go, nope, sorry, you can't do that. So that's what we're trying to avoid. So as part of this, you're not fully committing to designing it. We're trying to put the wheels in motion or the pieces in place that when we get to that point of requesting that funding, that we have the ability to kind of do that. And ultimately, if the council says, no, we're not going to pay for it, I mean, you would still have your right. It just means that those agreements would fall to the side.
Just one final thing. I know there's a lot of community support. Every time I introduce myself and say that I'm an alder, one of the top things that comes up is when are we paving the path? So I think if it comes down to a dollars and cents thing, we could get kind of creative about how we fundraise for that, but just high approval.
I guess I'll call on myself real quick, and then Alder Helmke. I just want to say, I think this is an opportunity for both, people in the city to kind of get what they want and provide a better connection for people who are walking and biking. And I also think it's an opportunity for the snowmobile club to get what they want as well. I know there's been some, as Verona grows, I know there's been some conflicts between people on snowmobiles and other trail users. And I think, allowing the access to gas and the potential parking kind of on the west side of the city would be beneficial to people in the club as well. So I think this has the possibility to be something that's win-win. And it's crazy to think about, something that's been at least 20 years in the works actually happening. Alder Humke.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It seems like a win-win situation, and also like not giving a blank check, but it sounds like a great plan going forward.
Alder Touche.
In case it hasn't been said, I want to thank the Snowmobile Association for being flexible, allowing us to be creative to help solve both our problems. I think that we've shown over 20 years they've struggled with this, and they've evolved, and we really appreciate that. So, thank you.
Alder Posey.
So I share the support of everyone else and have just one thing to add, which is safety signage. Because of course, with now paving it, we will have more and more use by the ever-increasing electric bike community. And unfortunately, they're often going quickly and might cross some of our streets quickly and not realize that there might be a car coming. So being aware of that side and some of the more newer options for signage.
Any other feedback? Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Sawyer, did we cover it?
Yes, you did. So staff will go back to the DNR and kind of take a crack at putting these agreements together. I would hope to possibly bring these back in January. That's the goal. I know the DNR is motivated to get this done, and so is staff. So am I.
All right. With that, we'll move on to 11G, which is a discussion and possible action regarding resolution number 21-056, approving a trail and conservation easement, as well as a contribution of $500,000 towards the purchase of the Colling property.
Move approval.
Motion by Alder Touche. Is there a second? Second by Alder Kimmett. Mr. Sayer can give us an explanation.
Sure. This is another project that took, I think, a couple of years to kind of put together here. The City of Verona and Dane County, City of Madison, and the Town of Verona have partnered to purchase 40 acres, a 40-acre property located on Woods Road. The property is heavily wooded, and if purchased, the property would be used as open space. As part of the purchase, the city will be contributing $500,000 with other entities contributing the remaining balance. The proposed trail and conservation easement establishes rights for both the city and county and ensures the property will remain open for future generations. Staff recommends approval of the purchase and trail conservation easement for the property located on Woods Road.
Questions or comments on this motion? I'll just say real quick, I think this is a wonderful opportunity. As Verona grows, if we don't set aside the land, it's not going to get set aside. And I think Verona residents today and, honestly, 100 years in the future are going to appreciate and enjoy this. And I think that's a pretty great accomplishment for the city and all the other partners as well. But questions or comments on the motion? Alder Kimmett and then Alder Posey.
Not on the motion, but can we take a bathroom break after this?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alder Posey.
I just want to say, especially as we are developing more and more areas of our community, it is really great to see us also taking this step to conserve part of it as well.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of resolution number 21-056, approving a trail and conservation easement and a contribution of $500,000 towards the purchase of the Colling property, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. We will take an 8-minute break and reconvene here at 8:48. We will temporarily recess. I will see you all at 8:58 or 8:48. Okay, it is 8:47, and since everyone is back in their seat, I'm going to call us back. Oh, no, it's 8:48, so we're going to end the recess, and we will continue on the agenda. We will move on to 11H, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the development/TIF agreement for public improvements for Arrowhead, Madison, Inc., located in the Verona Technology Park. It's notified as a potential closed session item, but I think we can handle this in open session. Mr. Sayre.
Thank you. In November of 2021, the city approved plans for Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals to construct a 109,000 square foot lab and office building located in the technology park. The developer anticipates starting the project this winter. The project requires the extension of John P. Livesey Boulevard and the construction of portions of Arrowhead Way. In order to facilitate the construction of the building and public improvements, Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals is seeking an economic development incentive from the city in the amount of $16 million. Staff and the city attorney have negotiated the terms for the development agreement for the project. Under the terms of the agreement, the city agrees to pay 90% of the available tax increment generated from the property to Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals, with a total payment not exceeding $16 million. Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals will enter into a tax agreement with the city, committing that they would not seek a property tax exemption during the life of the tax incremental district, and staff recommends the Common Council approve the agreement, subject to final review by the city administrator and city attorney. Mr. Kleinmeyer, do you have anything to add?
I think the only two things that I would add, or maybe three things, is one, as we've discussed previously, this is a pay-go TIF, which means that essentially all risk for the city has been alleviated. There is the payment that Adam had mentioned, but they are going to be constructing public improvements as part of this agreement, and that the costs related to those public improvements, the city does not have to cover any of those on the front end. And the last thing I would add is just related to the tax agreement. It's kind of our standard form tax agreement that we're going to have. There is going to be, they've requested an exception for personal property to the extent that they may have personal property within their manufacturing facility that qualifies for a tax exemption under the state. Then that wouldn't be covered by the pilot, but the land and the building still would be. And that's because this is manufacturing and because the city doesn't in fact assess the property, the state does. That seemed like a reasonable request, I think, at least from staff standpoint.
Mr. Sayre.
Term pilot is payment in lieu of taxes, correct?
Yep, sorry. But other than that, I would say that the TIF agreement, which is on pages 290 to 307 of your packet, essentially takes the form as the same pay-go TIF agreements that we have executed in the past, and quite frankly is really similar, for example, to the agreement that we executed with Anarev back in March of this year, where there was also a public improvement component to that that they were going to be performing.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item?
Motion to approve development and TIF agreement with Arrowhead Madison, Inc. for development located at 1080 Arrowhead Way in Verona Technology Park.
Motion by Alder Kimmett. Is there a second? Oh, sorry, just.
Is that subject to final review by the city attorney and city administrator?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Motion by Alder Kimmett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Ricky. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? I'll just, for posterity's sake, I think that, Arrowhead Tech is going to be a wonderful addition to our community, and I look forward to all the great jobs they're going to bring. But seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the development/TIF agreement for public improvements for Arrowhead Madison, Inc., located in the Verona Technology Park, subject to attorney and city administrator approval, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Next, we will move on to 11I, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the amendment to development agreement for public improvements in tax incremental district number 8. Mr. Sayre.
Thank you. The proposed amendment to the development agreement with Livesey Company for public improvements in the area of County Highway M and County Highway PB that benefit tax incremental district number 8. The proposed amendment removes the Arrowhead property from the agreement, and tax increment generated from the Arrowhead project will not be used to make payments as part of the public improvements agreement with Livesey Company. So this kind of goes back to the last item we just approved. The increment off of the Arrowhead project will pay for the Arrowhead TIF agreement, and the Livesey agreement, which we had back in, I think, March of this past year, that will have the properties we agreed upon at that time, except the Arrowhead project. So we're pulling that out of that agreement. Livesey has reviewed the agreements, and they have no concerns with them.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Posey.
Make a motion to approve the amendment to development agreement for public improvements in tax incremental district number 8.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Helmke. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the amendment to the development agreement for public improvements in tax incremental district number 8 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And that motion passes. I will move on to 11J, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the stormwater easement agreement between the City of Verona and Arrowhead Madison, Inc.
Thank you. The proposed stormwater easement agreement establishes rights and responsibilities for stormwater-related drainage ways that will be constructed with the Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals development project. These easements were identified on the approved and recorded certified survey map for the Arrowhead project. The city attorney and director of public works have reviewed the agreement and have no concerns at this point. Staff recommends the common council approve the agreement subject to final review by the city administrator and city attorney. We have a few minor kind of tweaks to make to this, so that's why that condition's on there.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments or motions on this item?
Motion to approve stormwater easement agreement between the City of Verona and Arrowhead Madison, subject to final review by city admin and attorney.
Motion by Alder Kimmett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Helmke. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the stormwater easement agreement between the City of Verona and Arrowhead Madison, Inc., subject to final approval by the city attorney and city admin, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And that motion passes. Next, we'll move on to 11K, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the new Parks Director Employment Agreement. Mr. Sayre.
Thank you. On November 2nd, 2021, the Personnel Committee interviewed candidates for the Director of Parks and Urban Forestry position and directed staff to complete a background investigation on a selected candidate. City staff has completed the background investigation on the selected individual for the Director of Parks and Urban Forestry position, and no issues have been identified. An employment agreement has been prepared, and the candidate has indicated they are comfortable with the terms of the draft agreement. Staff recommends the Common Council go into closed session to discuss the employment agreement, and I do not anticipate this to be a long discussion.
Thank you for that explanation. With that, I would entertain a motion to move into closed session. Alder Ricky.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session because the Common Council may convene in a closed session for discussion and possible action regarding the Parks Director Employment Agreement as authorized by Section 19.85, Paren 1, Paren C of the Wisconsin statutes to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee subject to the jurisdiction or authority of the City of Verona. Common Council may reconvene in open session to discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in the closed session.
Motion by Alder Ricky. Is there a second? Second by Alder Host. This is a roll call vote. If the clerk would be so kind as to read the roll.
Alderperson Cronin.
Aye.
Alderperson Helmke.
Aye.
Alderperson Hoax.
Aye.
Alderperson Kimmett.
Aye.
Alderperson Posey.
Aye.
Alderperson Reekie.
Aye.
And Alderperson Touche.
Aye.
With that, the motion passes, and we will move into closed session at 8:56 p.m. It's the procedure that's, even though I know, I have to ask anyway.
No, you don't have
I have to. I'll feel like I did a bad job. All right, it is 9:11 PM and we are in open session. Alder Host.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Director of Parks and Urban Forestry Employment Agreement with Patrick Groom.
Motion by Alder Host, seconded by Alder Touche. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Alder Kimmett.
Welcome, Patrick. We look forward to working with you.
Yeah, if I could just add, I think I sat in on the interviews with all the candidates. I believe Mr. Groom was fantastic. I think he is the kind of the right mix of someone who can handle the clerical parts of the job and budgeting, but I also feel like he's someone who would be perfectly comfortable hopping on a mower. And that's great, because that's what the Verona Parks Department needs. So more mowers, more a director who will get his hands dirty. And I'd also like to congratulate Dave Walker on his retirement as well. So congrats, Dave. Well, I gotta approve this motion. So any further comments? Seeing no comments, all those in favor of approving the Parks Director Employment Agreement with Pat Groom, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? That motion passes. Now we're on item 12, adjournment. Motion by Alder Touche, is there a second? Second by Alder Cronin, I think. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And we're adjourned at 9:13 PM. Thank you.